Hello, hello. Is everything? Yes, everything's working. Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Hello, my name is Fiona. I use she her pronouns, and this is Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPGs. Hello, Kieran. How are you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, welcome to this stream of accountability. If you're wondering why the camera is different, it's because I've got a new one, and it turns out it's a little bit more complex than I originally thought it was going to be. So we're going to try it out and see if it works. Otherwise, we'll just shift back to the old one, and we'll use the nice new one for something else. This is an accountability TTRPG stream in which I, me, Fiona, will read an RPG that's caught my interest either from the bookcase of Doom or the Google Drive of Mystery through a randomly generated sequence I call a number, a random number generator. Or through a suggestion. I hope you're doing well, friends. Sorry, this stream was supposed to be last Thursday, and then I forgot that I had to take my partner for a medical appointment. He's absolutely fine. Do not worry. He's great. But then it turned out like I had to stay there for like 3 or 4 hours, and I was like, all right, well, I guess this is my life now. But I hope people are doing well. Yeah, and I'm still getting used to things. Hang on, let's hide that. We don't need that. Don't unhide all. That's going to be terrifying. But I hope you folks are doing well. We'll just get straight into it because, again, as always, I feel like I've got a billion and one things to do, and I had a billion and one things to do this morning, which is slowly picking up. I'll talk about it at the end, which is exciting. But today, friends, we are looking at Shadowdark, an RPG that is sort of old school gaming modernized. And if you are like me going, I have no idea what that means, hey, we're in the right place. So we're coming at this as a proper sort of amateur level in terms of like I don't know much about this game other than it won a number of Ennies. I think a couple of weeks ago I did a stream about Outgunned, which won Silver Ennie for Product of the Year and RPG of the Year, and it was pipped to the post by Shadowdark. So that's why I was like, well, we should absolutely look at Shadowdark as well. Yes, I see it's got here. It won the 2024 Three Castles Award for Best Game Design, as well as 4 Golden Ennies. The Product of the Year, Best Game, Best Rules, and Best Layout and Design. So there you go. It's got quite a lot of accolades behind it. And I'll be completely honest. I am not I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, maybe it's not a game for me. Just because of the way it sort of looks. I don't know. It's something about it where I'm already like, but that's not the point of this thing. It's the point of that going into it with an open mind. I'm going to look at something that has, is in the zeitgeist, it's in the public eye, and it's clearly done very, very well. So we need to know a bit more about it. So that's what we're coming in. We're coming in with a complete clean slate. I don't know anything about this game other than it won the Ennies, and obviously as a result it's got a lot of popularity behind it, which is really exciting. As always, at the top of the stream, let's talk about it. So, I'm not a game designer, and I don't know much about games, really. I try my best, but oh, hang on, my audio's just turn it down a little bit hot. We'll do that. As I was saying, I'm not a game designer, but I read a lot of RPGs, including ones that maybe aren't my taste or style. So maybe including this one. So take everything I say with a pinch of salt. Take it as a take it as a critique rather than criticism, because obviously I don't know much about it. I run a lot of games for 2 different podcasts, and I run games professionally. So I'm coming at this from the angle of like, what is it? What is it? What's the sort of appeal of it? What's the marketing angle of it? Like, what's the marketing copy? How does it read? Is there anything, if anything, could we improve about it? Is this something that I would run for a podcast or anything like that? So, because that's the thing as well. I was reluctant, but I had a lot of fun playing. Millie the GM, hello, my friend. How are you doing? Oh, yes, I'm very interested as well. So I'm a bit sort of like on that reluctant thing as well. We had a lot of fun playing. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, I hear like a good review there. So we'll come to it. So as I said, I'm not au fait with sort of old school gaming myself, so that's why I'm sort of like taking it with a pinch of salt. So again, take everything I say here as a pinch of salt. On top of that, so I'm not a game designer. What's the other thing? I've not been sponsored to do this by Arcane Library. That's the publishers behind this. I'm just doing this because it came up on my random number generator, and I got the books. So we're going to go for it from there. You can also, I think there's a link. So I put the link to the core rulebook, which you can get on the Arcane Library website. But there are quick starts as well. There's a player quick start, and GM Quick Start, and also there's some solo rules as well. So there's quite a lot of stuff to help you get into it. We're going to look at the Quick Starts today, rather than the 300-page rulebook, to get a sense of like this is probably something that you want to run for your team, for your gaming group, etc. And then finally, content warnings. I assume, going by the cover, there's going to be some dungeons. There's going to be combat in that sense. There's going to be monstrosities. But other than that, I'm not so sure. Maybe it's going to be a bit more gritty, a bit more sort of quote-unquote dark fantasy. So we're just going to go from there. But of course, at any time, if you're like, this is not the game for me, there is no pressure to keep on watching. Certainly keep on listening to me reading out terrible things. So take a moment to get away from the stream, etc., and come back if and when you're ready. You are more important than me reading out an RPG. All right, team, let's get into it, shall we? Let's go to game screen. There we go. It's all right. So this is what you would get on the Arcane Library website, and this is obviously the PDF you can get. It's roughly about $30. So what's that? Maybe £26 if you're getting it. And yeah, as you can see here, got the NES and stuff like that. But it doesn't have much on this PDF about what it is. I believe you get that if you go onto the core rules and then the actual physical copies. So you can see here where you can get the others, so that the Shadowdark is free. The Quick Start as well, free PDF there, so that's where you'd get it. Maybe actually if I go to Quick, maybe it will have it there. Oh, no. Let's just go into it there. Oh, there we go, a little bit better. So, experience the world's greatest role-playing game in a whole new light. Lift your torch, draw your blade, and enter the Shadowdark. The free Shadowdark RPG Quick Start is the perfect way to introduce you to the game. The Quick Start contains two 68-page digest-sized booklets that give you all you need to play to run thrilling Shadowdark RPG adventures for first to third level characters. Done. It also includes a set of 8 first level characters with gorgeous full art on one side and game statistics on the other. Nice. Okay, sounds good. So if you were going to print that out, that's something that you can have. But equally, I don't know if you want to print out full-on sort of like, black ink images. Inside we can find there is a dungeon crawls, the Lost Citadel of the Scarlet Minotaur, where characters can delve for legendary loot, but where pushing their luck might result in an encounter with the infamous Scarlet Minotaur. So again, that's a nice quick copy we can have there. Classic hand-drawn adventure map and player-safe JPEG for virtual tabletops. Oh, nice. That's quite good. 36 spells, 19 magic items, 52 monsters. And we have the core classes of Priest, Fighter, Thief, Wizard. So again, going back to that sort of old school D&D, old school OSR. Also, full character creation rules for making custom crawlers. Nice, that's something we like to see in Quick Starts. That's usually the thing that is missing from a lot of free stuff, because they're like, oh, here, have some pre-gens. The full rules for creating characters is in the core books. And whilst that is fine, if the rules for character creation are vastly different to that in the Quick Start, I find that a little bit off-putting myself, because then as someone who is teaching someone how to create characters, it's a little bit more work, a little bit more thinking about it too. And there's a walkthrough there of the adventures are. Nice. So there, and as I said, you can get like the core books, a very nice hardcover book there, but the rest of it in PDF. And yeah, as I said, at Gen Con, as soon as it was announced that the ENnies, that it had won a number of ENnies, sold out all over, which is good. I will say, looking at it, let's just go into it, shall we? Let's go into it. Let's Fiona find the actual things. Turn off Chrome. There we go. So we're gonna look that is the core rulebook cover. That's the word I was looking for there. And this, so like I said, we're not going to look at this per se, but I wanted to talk about the cover very quickly, because it's incredibly detailed penmanship there. I really like it over the light and stuff like this. Sort of, I assume some sort of beholder type character with lots of eyes sticking up the horror. You can really see that the glistening slime coming off it as well. It looks, I presume it like an undead beholder, maybe a zombie beholder. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. But that's very good. The one thing I will say, as always, is I know I go on about it quite a bit, and this is something, when you're looking at the cover like this, like clearly really cool cover. I've no idea that this is Shadowdark without knowing that obviously on the binding of it says Shadowdark, and I understand why, because obviously they want to have that full impact of this incredible art. But if you just find this out in the wild, I don't know this is Shadowdark from looking at it. And I'm guessing if I just hold it, there's no alt text either. So it's one of those things where again, do you sacrifice the impact of the full art here to include the title of the RPG and even the publisher? I think so. I think you could have put something at the bottom, perhaps. I don't know. I understand why they've done it, but I just it's one of those things I always think to myself, how do I know this is, if I send someone this artwork, they'll be like, oh great, cool artwork. They don't know it's a game. And again, if there's no alt text as well, that's a shame as well. Anyway, I just thought I'd show that because that's on everything, and we think we saw it. If I show back on Chrome, it's there as well on the again. So you can see like on the back you have that image of the hardback cover and the name of it. And again, I can imagine that standing up really well. Like again, that sort of shine, the sort of silveriness of it, very very cool. But again, I'm just there like, I don't know. It's a design choice. It's a design choice which I don't necessarily agree with myself. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of what I know. And enough of this one. We're going to go straight to we'll go to the character quick start. So we're gonna, sorry, not the character quick start, the player quick start. So we're gonna look at the player quick start first. And if we've got time, we might look at the GM one. I think I want to look at the player one because I want to see what the players see when they get this and what they get out of it. So here, inside the quick start, you can tell it's called a Shadowdark because it's at the top. I like that. I actually really like the font style and the font choices there. Let me zoom in a little bit. Would it not possibly also joining I only play type folks who might dismiss it? Yes, absolutely, I agree. It's interesting. Yeah, I think maybe it is targeting a certain audience, Millie the GM, but I'm just thinking in an age of accessibility and whereby, we're getting new and new audiences for stuff of much younger generations. I'm just thinking of that accessibility in terms of like digital speaking and also just alt text in general. Even if it's just in the alt text, I think that is just a big step forward. But you're right. I think it is clearly trying to attract a certain audience. That if you see it, go, I know exactly what this is, which is fine. But then if you don't know you like those games, yeah, I don't know. I think you've got an absolutely valid point. What do I know? But here, like I said, we've got the Shadowdark. It's on this sort of cream off-white color page, paper, which is interesting. I like the sort of the I don't remember what the style of it is called. Is it like a I want to say woodcut like screen print almost sort of thing? Which is quite nice. It's sort of a sort of bipedal lizard person holding some sort of sword or club, perhaps. Or no, I see. It's a sword. They're taking the sword out of their sheath. I see. You really can see like all the sort of muscles underneath it, the sort of texture of it. So it feels quite good. And then presumably a little image there. I don't know if that's maybe the artist, sign, or maybe it's just like just an insignia of some sort. And then play a quick start guide. Again, no alt text. It is what it is. But I like the cover, the text being shadow dark and having the dark bit with like sort of the. I see they've reversed the colours. You see here, so they've got the shadow behind the shadow, and then they flipped it around for dark. Oh, that's quite clever. I quite like that. Anyway, so like I said, we're going to look at the player quick start guide. It is 68 pages. We might not do all of it. It might be a lot of it's going to be like pre-gens perhaps. But yeah, we'll just go from there. So the first page is, again, typical sort of like, here's a basic gear table. I know there's a sort of like a thing where you have tables and stuff like that in these, on these, like in the covers and stuff. Like I know Mortborg does that, where you have those, it's quick to hand things if you're trying to get items and stuff, which kind of makes sense if you're playing it as well. Kieran says, speaking of voices, the fun title text and internal tables, at least the one on the first page, are screen readable, which is nice. Yes, exactly. Very much so. Yeah, screen readable, no alt text though, in case for whatever reason. So yeah, that is true. And yeah, I think if the tables are screen readable, that's pretty good as well. Nice. And then you got information about gear slots. So carry a number of items equal to your strength stat or 10. Okay, so yeah, so 10 by the basic minimum. Oh, hello, the bad spot. Hello, my friend. How are you doing? You've just in time. We've just started the quick start for Shadowdark. So come on in, get settled. And all gear besides typical clothing fills one gear slot. Yep. And gear that is hard to transport might fill more than one slot. So instantly, what we've got here, we've got that, again, the titles, the screen readable, which is nice. It's still got that same font that we used for the top for Shadowdark, so going along with that theme. And it is 2 columns, but they're big text, so I'm all right with this. This is okay. So player's turn. So step 1, count down timers for your spells and other effects. Okay, so yeah, something that I've learned to do with Magic as well. Go, oh, has anything triggered? Yes, everything has. Step 2, take an action and move up to split up in either way. Move up to near. Move a near again if skipping action. Okay, and then GM describes results. So move up near, presumably the enemy. I'm guessing. I don't know. The bad spot says, frantically editing a campaign episode before I go on holiday. Will I finish? Who can say? Oh, well, best of luck, friend. Best of luck. Well, hopefully a well-deserved holiday, but that's immediate stress before having an episode go out. Well, good to have you here. Good to have you here. So difficulty classes we've got for various checks. We've got easy at DC 9 and some examples. So leaping a narrow chasm. That's the sort of thing that I would absolutely fail, by the way. Normal is a DC 12. Hard is DC 15, and extreme is a DC 18. Okay, very straightforward. And again, it's nice to have 4 examples of extremes. Probably very difficult to get to. Morale: enemies who are reduced to half their number or half their hit points for a solo enemy flee if they fail a DC 15, so that's a hard wisdom check. Larger groups make 1 check using the leader's wisdom modifier. Great, straightforward, simple. And we've already got into the sort of main thing of combat and fighting. Often we have it left towards like the final third. So maybe it's just a thing with OSR in general, just they shift all the stuff up at the front, because that's probably what is more important to players. Usually that's the thing they're going to be looking at straight away, right? Is that, oh, I need to look into the quick start again. Oh, it's all the fighting stuff, or it's all the combat stuff. There we have dying as well. A death timer. 1d4 plus con modifier rounds, minimum of 1. On turn, roll a d20. 20 rise up with 1 HP. Interesting. So I like the fact that you've got that death timer on to indicate how long you have. Ooh, I like that. Before you probably shuffle off this mortal coil. Stabilize. So this has to be close range. It's a difficulty, a hard check of 15 intelligence check. On a success, target stops dying, but is still unconscious. Interesting. So it's quite hard to pass it, isn't it? Distance of movement, we've got close, climbing, falling, moving through, and swimming. Ah, I see. Oh, it talks about here. Oh, I understand what it talks about with player turn now. So take an action and move up to near. Near meaning 30 feet. And you can split up. So you can move 15 feet, say, or 10 feet, whatever, then do an action, and then move the rest of your movement. I think I would have that as a capitalized and in bold, because and then here move near again is skipping action, so you're dashing. I understand. Again, need that in bold because that's what it's referring to here, just to keep that consistent. Climbing, that's a dex or strength check, half speed. So a fall if failed by more than 5 points. Or plus 5 points, I say, so equal to, perhaps. Falling is d6 damage every 10 feet. Move freely through allies, but pass a strength or dex check to move through enemies. And swimming is half speed, so strength check in rough water. Con check with holding breath, fail is 1d6 damage a round until exiting hazard. Right, straightforward enough. Okay. And again, it's nice to have that. I can imagine, again, if you were just printing out, I mean, it's probably going to tell us later on. If you're like, I'm just going to print that out and have that aside, you know what you could do? You could cut this up as bookmarks, couldn't you? You could have it on either side. Is it got all the information you might need as you're playing? Possibly not, but it's still good. Spell focus. When can't cast with other focus spells whilst focusing. Yep, so concentration stuff. Make a spell casting check at the start of your turn for the spell. Success, the spell stays in effect until the start of your next turn. So you constantly have to make spell casting checks. Interesting. Failure and the spell ends. If you were focusing, you do not lose the ability to cast that spell. And then distraction, immediately make a spell casting check to maintain focus. Alright, straightforward. Oh, and then we get the credits. Okay, so that's great. So this would be, like I said, like the inside, possibly the first couple of pages of this quick start book. Again, maybe it's that sort of thing, if you were doing like a physical copy, maybe some of this would be like, if you had like, again, I know you wouldn't have it necessarily for the quick start, but if you're having that hardback cover, maybe you're going to have like a dust jacket of some sort and have it in there. So that when you move through and you bookmark with the dust jacket, you can actually, it has information for you there. Right, so let's go over it. Here are the credits. Hooray! Kelsey Dionin is the person who's writing, design, and layout. Whew. Wow, loads of stuff there. Good job. Got all this art as well. Very good. Fonts. I love a good credit to the fonts. Excellent. Montserrat. Nice. All right. And then we have our table of contents. So we're going to have the basics, character overview, gameplay, casting spells, and that's it. Presumably the last 10 pages might be is character creation, or maybe it's just going to be a list of spells, perhaps. That makes sense. What we'll do, we're going to look at the basics. I then want to look at gameplay. I'm not too fussed about characters and creating characters per se. If we've got time, we'll come back to it for sure. But yeah, I want to see the basics and the gameplay. I'm aware it's almost like it is going to be slightly like 5th edition. That was kind of one of the appeals of it, or one of the sort of marketing things behind it. So I want to check what that is, and if it's a quick one, we can always come back. And yeah, the main rules. They're only 13 pages? That's not too bad as well. And then the basics here as well is roughly 4 pages. There you go. It's all on. I quite like the neatness of it laid out. Oh, and it is also hyperlinked as well. It's always good. All right, I'm going to enhance a little bit, but we don't have to do it too much because it's nice big text. So Shadowdark, and look, I like this little image like underneath the header there. That's quite good. And oh, and that is actually the text as well. And it's not a banner image, which is good. So what is Shadowdark? So Shadowdark RPG is a fantasy adventure where you and your companions delve into buried ruins, lost cities, spider-infested forests, and even fearsome dragon lairs in search of gold and glory. The Shadowdark is any place where danger and darkness hold sway. It clutches ancient secrets and dusty treasures in its rotting claws, daring fortune seekers to tempt their fates. With your adventuring companions at your side, you will confront Shadowdark's sinister traps, formidable magics, and ruthless monsters. If you survive, you'll bring back untold riches plucked from the jaws of death itself. And before long, you'll hear the Shadowdark's call once again. So we've got almost like very similar to like Best Left Buried, a little bit of Trophy, I think. Trophy Dark. No, Trophy Gold, probably. That sort of like vibes to it. Interesting. So what defines this game? So speed, danger, and simplicity. Magic is perilous, and battles are fast and deadly. Being clever is crucial for survival. Shadowdark RPG is rules-light and intuitive. It encourages quick decisions rather than hunting through the rulebook for answers. We kind of saw that a bit earlier with the layout, so that's quite interesting. So in this game, a torch only holds back the pressing darkness for 1 hour of real-time world. Ooh. I like that. If we're going to have timed sessions, that'd be quite fun. There isn't a moment to waste when the flames are burning low. So how do I play? Everything you need to know to get started playing is in this tome. Turn to the next section to get familiar with the basics. GM assistant _AI. Perfect for me time to join. Perfect time for me to join. I'll understand Shadowdark soon. Well, I hope so, GM. Hope so. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Alright, the basics. So if it's your first time playing Shadowdark RPG, well, it is, it's helpful to start with a pre-made character. Several adventurers are included in this book. Oh yes, it did say that, didn't it? Right at the beginning, we've got 10 level 1 characters, so those are going to be at the back. That's perfect. These quick start rules cover the beginning characters for their first few adventures. The full rules go much further. Check them out and there's a website, and let me just check. And it works. The link goes to the website. Nice. Characters. So you decide your character's actions and tell them to the referee or game master. Okay, so we don't have fun names. We don't have adventurers. We don't have keeper as the name and stuff like that. Fine. Rubbish. That's a point against it in my book. I need fun GM titles. The GM determines if your actions are successful and describe the results. This back and forth between you, the GM, and your adventuring companions grows and shapes the game world. I say again, that's an incredibly short way of putting, this is what an RPG is in literally 3 sentences. That's what it is. That's quite good. So always ask yourself, if you were really this character, what would you do right now? Describe an action. So on your turn, describe an action you want to do. So for example, you could say you're going to shoot your bow at the troll. The GM might ask you to make a check, see checks, to determine whether your action succeeds. Movement. During your turn, you can move up to near, so roughly 30 feet. Again, we've got that in bold, but it's not capitalized like it was earlier. So it's just a little bit of consistency. They might have changed it for like an updated quick start, but just a little thing that. You can break this movement up in any way. If you don't take an action, you can move near. You can move near. Again, needs to be bold. Again. So rounds. Each person takes a turn, starting with the GM and going clockwise. Okay, so it's assuming that you're going to be at a table in person of sorts, which is interesting. Maybe what I would do here. You don't have to do this, obviously, but maybe I go clockwise either in person around the table or around the screen or something like that. Like, I think, because some people are like, oh, but there's no order in a Zoom call. And I'm like, there is. We can make it. I think just that's the only thing, because I like the idea that the initiative, it just goes round. Or I could be like, oh, I pick the next person to go. Sorry. No. Hang on. My Instagram just went, are you looking for your friends? I was like, oh, thanks, Instagram. The GM controls the monsters and the environment and narrates how everyone's actions changes the game world. Once everyone has had a turn, that completes one round, and then a new round begins. So the GM always starts at the top of the round. Interesting. So what dice do we need? So we need a D4, we need a D6, D8, D10, D12, and a D20. So a whole set of polyhedral dice. Multiples. So again, just describing it for people who don't know, 3d6 is 3 6-sided dice. You roll them together and add them. Oh, interesting. Not interesting. Yeah, that makes sense if we're doing damage and stuff. Advantage, disadvantage, we know this, is that you roll the dice twice and take the lowest for disadvantage and higher for if you're doing advantage. Stats. Stats are your characteristics. Each stat goes from 3 to 18 and has a bonus or penalty called a modifier or mod from -4 to +4. And then again, very similar to people who have played D&D or D20 systems at least, we've got our 6 stats. We've got our strength, which is all about physical power, agility, dexterity, which is agility reflexes, constitution, which is endurance, intelligence, which is a logical ability, wisdom is instinct and willpower, and charisma is appeal and presence. I like, again, it doesn't, I think maybe it's aware of the limited word count we have, but we just got to keep it as simple as possible because people just want to get up and going. About this, we're just having like a 2-word phrase or a quick sentence describing what that is. Because a lot of RPGs do go into a lot of detail about what strength is and what dexterity is, just to be like, this is what it covers. Here, it seems very, very, very straightforward, understandably so. Checks. So, when attempting a risky action, roll a d20 and add a modifier. That's called making a check. The GM chooses the check's linked stat and a number called the difficulty class, so the DC. If the total of your DC 20 roll and plus the stat modifier equals to or beats the DC, your action succeeds. Yeah, very straightforward. So, for example, leaping over a narrow chasm might require a DC, so 9, which is an easy from what we saw before, strength check. Easy enough. So here, it obviously it encourages you to set that DC, and probably tell the players out loud. We've talked about this a little bit before. Like some GMs tend not to say what the DC is for certain things, hiding it behind a screen, or just that's just the way they play. I like telling people what it is, and certainly here we know there are. Hang on, I'll zoom back up. We know there are 4, easy, normal, hard, extreme. So I think even if you were using that, the players know. It's in the player quick start. It's like, oh, it's a hard DC? Oh, it's a 15. Well, easy? Yeah, unless I'm really roll bad, it'll be fine, So, yeah, I think that's... I think for this, it makes sense to be telling people what it is. It is an easy check. It is a hard check. Or easy is 9, etc. Alright, so hit points. So injuries cause you to take damage and lose hit points, which is known as HP. Typical weapons do 1d6 damage to your health, and you regain hit points at the end of a night of rest. Characters at 0 hit points die in 1d4 plus Constitution modifier rounds, minimum of 1 round. And dead characters are retired from play. So interesting. So you will be set a number of things that you just won't do anything. You're not doing. It sounds like you're not doing saving throws or anything like that. So it's up to somebody else to come and help you out within that allotted time. So it goes back to that death timer thing, which I think I quite like that. And so what's next? Well, so you could play a whole game with just these basics. Yeah, I think it's just pretty much set you up for everything you need, right? But once you're ready for more, the next chapters will expand on them. So yeah, I think take that first. What we've got, that's page 9, so those first couple of pages, that's all you need. So it's just not bad. Ooh, look at this full art we've got here. Ooh, look at that. Is that? So that's a torch there against the black back of it. Darkness. And yeah, no alt text. We can't really describe what it is, but it looks like an individual who has sort of orcish features. We've got some 2 tusks coming out from their lower jaw. We've got 2 bearded individuals. One's carrying like a great axe, and another individual in a cloak looking down at the ground, doing some sort of searching for tracks. And they seem to be in a forest. The orcish individual's holding up like a torch against the dark. And at the top you see there's a bat. There's several bats flying through. So they're clearly in some sort of, I want to say forest, or maybe some sort of tomb, perhaps. I guess. Oh, it's a chasm of some sort, right? That's the light coming around, perhaps, or is that just a weird way the trees work? Interesting. GM assistant says, "I love how distilled. It is so far." Yeah, well, this is the thing. Again, it sort of takes back to that old school gaming thing where it's just like we just want the bare basics. That light rules just gets you into it straight away. And because it takes a lot of inspiration from 5th edition. So you've still got that D20 check plus the modifier, etc. It just boiling it down to the basics. People who are playing D&D absolutely can pick this up and just go. They don't have to worry about stuff. And that's it. That's all you need for that bit. Okay, so that's the character stuff. What I'm going to do, I'm going to shift ahead to the actual gameplay mechanics. I want to see how different it is too, as it talked about 5th edition, or what new it adds to it. Because that's what like it said before, it was trying to appeal to 2 crowds. People who were playing 5th edition D&D who were like, let's get back to the nitty-gritty and stuff like that, but it's easily customizable. But then the OSR stuff, where it was trying to be like, we're sort of optimizing it a little bit more. So it's trying to appeal to both audiences. So we won't look at characters just yet, but we'll see what the we'll skip through, and we'll go and see what there you go, gameplay. That was quite straightforward. There's some interesting bits there. So gameplay. And I like this sort of like title page they've got here with that little bit of detail there. And I like these banners that go down here. And yep, so that's screen readable as well. Shadowdark is like a sleeping bear. Only go near it if you have a 10-foot pole and are prepared to die. That's great. I like that. And yeah, and I like, again, that's screen readable, that little bit of text there. But that's what a great little banner to have behind it. Like, look at the detail. She says, let's zoom in a little bit. Let's look at the detail on it. Like, looks like little plants or something like that, or like I don't know. I really like that little detail. It looks almost like stamped on or printed on in some way. Anyway, let's go to rolling the dice. So, advantage. So when you have advantage on a roll, it means you are in a strong position to succeed. So, for example, you might be attacking from the high ground, or you might have just failed at a task and now have insight on how to succeed if you try again. To roll with advantage, roll the same die twice and use the better result. And the same thing for disadvantage. So when you have disadvantage roll, it means you're in a strong position to fail. So for example, you might be trying to strike an enemy whilst blinded by sand, or navigating a maze whilst confused by disorienting poison. To roll with disadvantage, roll the same die twice, and use the worst result. I do like those examples. Again, straightforward. You're not having to go into lots of detail, but they're very different, right? So yeah, you can imagine, oh yeah, I have the high ground. I failed at something, but I now know if I come across this again. So I like this idea of you failed, but now you know how to do it again. I quite like that. And similarly, I like these two things where again, a situation where it could happen, like you can't see, you've been blinded by some sort of environmental hazard, trying to strike at someone, or navigating a maze when you don't know the layout, or you're confused by some sort of like ongoing effect. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I like those examples. If you have both advantage and disadvantage on the roll, they cancel each other out. Yep, again, very straightforward. Natural 20. So when a d20 die roll shows a 20, what you're doing succeeds to your maximum capacity. An attack roll automatically hits and is a critical hit. See damage later on. Similarly, a natural 1, so when a d20 die shows a 1, what you're doing fails to your maximum capacity. An attack roll automatically misses and might even strike an ally. Nice. D6 decider. So if there's a random chance of an outcome, such as whether a drop torch goes out, the GM calls for a D6 roll. 1 to 3 results in a worse outcome for the players, and a 4 to 6 results in a better one. Okay, yeah. Again, I get it because again you have that. I know people like rolling D6 rolls. I think that's more of a coin flip, right? 50-50%, right? So again, it's like you could replace that with a D100 or whatever. But I like the idea of it's a coin flip, that sort of thing. So maybe that's what I would do instead. I think it's a heads or tails thing. But obviously, you've got a whole set of polyhedral dice, so you've got to use one of them. But you can use any of those dice. You know, like a D10. So 1 to 5 is a failure. 6 to 10 is a success. You know, all that sort of thing. So. Whoa, look at that art, though. Oh, I love that. Again, what a great bookmark that would make. No alt text, unfortunately. So sometimes the GM awards a luck token to a player for exceptional role-playing, heroism, or just plain coolness. Big sacrifices, moving speeches, and incredibly daring maneuvers might be worthy of luck tokens, whether or not the character's actions were successful. So each player can only have one luck token at a time. You can cash in a luck token to re-roll any roll you just made, and you must take the new result. You can also give your luck token to a companion. So again, this is just another way of saying inspiration if people, are aware of that. And it's how I take what inspiration is that you just re-roll and use the new result rather than sometimes, again, I don't know if this was like maybe it's something that was in D&D quite a bit, but that idea of like, oh, you roll an extra D20 and add that to the roll, I don't like that. I think I like the re-roll thing myself personally, but yeah. So how many to give? So the GM might reward 2 to 3 new luck tokens per player during the course of a session with a pulpy heroic field. Alternatively, the GM might not give out any new luck tokens during a game session that is grim, difficult, and dark. Oh, so it could be depending on the genre that you're playing through. Interesting. So using stats. Certain tasks fall under specific stats. The following examples illustrate common uses for each one. So this is nice as well, in case if you've never played a role-playing game before, you're like, oh, what can I do? What's the difference between intelligence and wisdom? I know I always get those mixed up as well, so we've got some examples here. Oh, the difference between intelligence and wisdom can be tricky, yep. If in doubt, remember wisdom is for sensory acuity and instinct, whilst intelligence covers knowledge and logic. Fair enough. So let's read a few of these examples. Of strength is like smashing open locked doors. Dexterity, diving away from a trap that flings a hail of nails. See that. Fooling onlookers with sleight of hand tricks. Constitution is withstanding intense pain, holding your breath underwater. Intelligence is giving first aid to a dying character. Finding food and water in resources in the wilderness. Wisdom, spotting a well-hidden enemy. Deciphering the sounds on the other side of a door. And charisma is performing ventriloquism. Is it? I don't know if that's a charisma thing. I think, is that not like a dexterity thing? Is not to move your lips, perhaps? Applying a disguise and rallying enemies who are terrified by a monster. Interesting. Okay. Excuse me. I have to keep down with some water. Okay, so when do we roll? So usually you succeed at what you're trying to do without needing to roll a check. So for example, a wizard always being able to read magical runes, and a thief always finds a trap if searching in the right area. If you take the time to scan the sky for threats or examine a stretch of wall for a secret door, you just simply succeed. Social encounters usually rely on what you say rather than charisma checks. Narrating a moving speech or using a secret information you gathered to influence an NPC does not require a check to succeed. I like that quite a lot. Again, I think I don't know if you would need it in this particular book, but as a GM, I would say to people, like, what is it that you say to them, but you don't have to, like, word for word do the speech. You don't have to be, like, act it out. Like, what are the key words you're trying to, like, imbibe in sort of enforce or encourage in people, And if they say along the right things, I'm like, okay, that fits the criteria. Yeah, it succeeds, etc. The GM asks for a check when the following is true. Excuse me. The action has a negative consequence for failing. Makes sense. The action requires some skill, some sort of maybe proficiency, maybe not. There doesn't seem to be proficiency here. And when there is time pressure. We talked about this before, the difficulty classes. We've got easy, which is a D9, a normal, which is not D9, sorry, a DC 9. Normal is DC 12, hard is DC 15, and extreme is DC 18. And again, you see here, it is repeated from what we saw earlier. And I think it's good to repeat stuff, especially when it's something simple like this, because then you'll always find it. And when you find it, it's not different from the thing you found before. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. And also straightforward in terms of like giving you an example. Contested check. So if multiple creatures are working against each other on a conflicting task, a contested check decides who succeeds. To make a contested check, each participant rolls one relevant stat check at the same time, even if it's not their turn. And the highest result wins, and re-roll ties, essentially. Okay, fair enough. Again, straightforward. Time. So real time. So time passes in the game world at the same pace it's passing in... Oh, sorry. Time passes in the game world at the same pace it passes in the real world. So 1 minute or hour of game time is equal to 1 minute of hour in real time. Well, that's very different to what we do normally, isn't it? This matters for tracking light sources because most light sources only last for an hour of real time. If you can't track in real time in your game, assume 1 hour is equal to 10 rounds. So a turn is a player's moment to describe what their character does to the GM. And you're describing it to the GM rather than what the character is doing to the GM. Players act one at a time on each of their turns. Some turns need a bit of room to breathe. A character who is speaking with someone can make a reasonable few exchanges back and forth. A round completes when each person has taken one turn. I see. And then 1 hour is 10 rounds, and in which each round everyone has something to do in it. Okay. Every moment in the game doesn't have to be accounted for in real time. So, for example, if the characters want to spend 10 minutes examining a room from top to bottom, the GM and players can agree that time passes. When the time passes, the GM and the players can move any timers down by that amount. Interesting. Yeah, there's this idea of timers that is coming back and forth, isn't it? Minutes passed. So effects with a duration of rounds expire. The GM rolls one random encounter with a check that occurs on 1 to 3 on a d6 whilst this timer is passing. And hours and days pass. Effects with a duration shorter than that time past expires. The GM uses overland travel rules to check for encounters, so see the Game Master's Quick Start Guide, page 14. Oh, is it going to be page 14? I'll find out in a second. After resolving encounters, the game world fast forwards to the new point in time. Okay. Turn order. So Shadowdark is played in turn order right from the start. At the beginning of the game, the GM establishes initiative, or the order in which players act. Everyone rolls a d20 and adds a dex modifier. The GM adds the highest dex modifier of any monsters if relevant. The person who rolled the highest takes the first turn, and then the turn order moves clockwise from that individual. Freeform mode. Initiative need not be strict. Some GMs only keep a loose round robin, allowing players to decide their turn order and actions before circling back to the GM's turn. Players might declare their actions as a group or act simultaneously, as the GM will need to adjudicate. A round passes once everyone has acted. And we've had this before. A player counts down any personal timers for spells and other effects in their turn. They take an action and may move up to near, so that movement of 30 feet. Or Hatchling Games, late to the stream. Hope you're doing well, Fiona. Thank you, Hatchling. Thank you, Rich. Very nice to have you here. Don't worry, you're just in time. We're just having a quick look at Shadowdark. We're looking at the main mechanic before we're going back to the characters. So glad to have you here, though, my friend. So that near thing again, because we know now that it's 30 feet. Again, would capitalize it and embolden it as usual. The GM describes what is happening as a result at the end of the player's turn. The GM describes what happens as a result of the player's turn. The GM's turn. So the GM counts down any timer's not tracked by the players, so yep, so that's what they'll do. They'll check for a random encounter if needed, and the GM takes actions and makes movements for any relevant creatures or environmental effects. The GM describes what the characters notice as a result of steps 1 to 3. So this is interesting. Again, I've personally not played any games that has that idea of like you're constantly in like turn-based mode. If you're thinking of Baldur's Gate, everyone's in turn-based mode. And that you have this beginning of the game, beginning of the session, like you're establishing that everyone knows what the order is, and it goes, okay, we're going to go to you. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? That sort of thing, and have that freeform mode. It's interesting. I would have to play it. I think is my thing. I'm not entirely sure if I would run it like that personally. I like that freeform mode of like keeping a loose round robin, but I do like the idea of tracking that 1 hour of game time being exactly the same as 1 hour real time with the torches and stuff, and agreeing with that as well. Millie, the GM, says, this is great for folks who get too excited and want to do all the things versus a quiet player who might not speak up. Agreed. I do like that idea of like, I guess, because it says it goes in order. So you've got the initiative, everyone rolls and it has them. Oh, I guess, okay, it's slightly different, isn't it? That's what I'm thinking of. Is because before it was going around the table about what are you doing, that sort of thing. Whereas, yeah, the dex thing is like actual initiative, so you have that. No, I agree. It's one of those things where everyone's going to have a chance to say something, and by the time everyone's done something, then that's the turn done. And if each hour is 10 turns, yeah, absolutely, I get you on that front. Because yeah, sometimes, especially if people don't know what to do as well, they might not go, oh, I don't do anything. They'll at least have a chance to say something. Oh, okay. See, I spoke too soon. So characters are in crawling rounds whilst not in combat. The Shadowdark. So the hang on, it'll say in a minute if you don't get. I'm jumping ahead now. The Shadowdark is any place where darkness, danger, and myth reign supreme. It could be among the crumbling ruins buried inside a forgotten mountain stronghold. It could be within the spell-wrought castle of an undead sorcerer who probes the universe for arcane secrets. It could be beneath the cursed trees where squirming abominations boil out of a black pit, pulping all in their path. Vision. All characters need light to see, but that is not true of darkness-adapted beings of the Shadowdark. So any area outside the character's light sources is in total darkness. So again, that sort of best left buried type thing. That's what I'm imagining here as well. So yeah, so there's no dark vision or anything like that. Light sources. So most light sources last up to 1 hour of real time and illuminate a limited area. New light sources lit while another is already active right along on the current timer. Oh, that's interesting. So you might have to wait till like that final minute before lighting something. It's good. That's a good adjudicating rule, because I know people will be like, oh well, I've just 10 minutes to go. Okay, but you use up 10 minutes as a result. That said, the GM should use their best discretion and avoid being punitive. If there isn't much time left on the current timer and the characters light a new torch, snuff out the old light sources and start a new timer. Yeah, I like the idea of having a physical timer. Either you have like an electronic one or even like an hourglass type thing. That's sand running out, so that'd be good. There should only be one active light timer except in rare cases. Total darkness. So while in total darkness, a creature who is not darkness adapted has a disadvantage on most tasks it tries to undertake as determined by the GM. Also, the environment becomes deadly. Check a random encounter for every crawling round. I will say what I do like about this, I've just realised this, is that each page, like, if you look at it, everything is contained in that page. So, for example, this contested check stuff, all the information for that is on this page. It doesn't go over 2 pages. So you could literally just take, oh, I just need to know about crawling grounds, and just copy that and put it. You don't need to go over several pages. So that's quite interesting. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it's not splitting up paragraphs in between pages. Like, sorry, I see here, the content is over 2 pages, but like, Total Darkness isn't over 2 pages, if you see what I mean. We've got movement again. So we've got climbing, falling, etc. So that's done again. Regroup. So during crawling rounds, the GM can allow players to regroup. PCs within reasonable reach of each other can come together in a marching order. They can also move as a group, taking a round each time. When needed, initiative shifts back to turns. Again, that turn-based mode thing. Conditions. Some effects impose a condition on a character, such as blindness or immobility. Advantage and disadvantage applied to most situations. Use common sense. So, for example, a blinded character has disadvantage on tasks that require sight, and the PC stuck in a spider's web can't move. So yeah, using your common sense about like what these conditions would be. So while crawling, characters can take actions that might include, like say prying a gem from a statue, sneaking up on a slumbering minotaur, or manticore, sorry, not minotaur. It's because of the Avengers called Scarlet Minotaur. Tapping on a suspicious wall to check for a hidden door, scanning a room for signs of hidden enemies, giving a rousing speech to a group of fearful townfolk. So that's just an example of things that you could do, and each of them will presumably take a check of some sort, unless you're very skilled in it, I think. Encounters. So these occur when any challenge presents itself that stops the character's progress. See the GM's guide for more on random encounters. Okay. Resting. So injured characters can rest to recover from their wounds. To rest, they must consume a ration and sleep for 8 hours. Sleep can be broken up for light and routine tasks such as taking a turn on watch. Grab some water. So, interruption. Each stressful interruption of rest, including combat, requires an affected character to make a DC 12 Constitution check. On a failure, the character consumes a ration but gains no benefit from resting. Well, I quite like that as a... I know some people are a bit... Not some people. Like, I've done it before where you get interrupted and then people are like, well, technically you had a fight, so you don't get any benefits from a long rest. And I'm just there going like, but that's... they had to do that. They had to sacrifice that choice. So I quite like that. It's just, again, they get to roll for it. I quite like that personally, as a GM, because then, there's still a chance that they can rest and get stuff back. I don't like it when it's taken out of their hands because of a roll that the GM did, Success. A character who successfully regains all their lost hit points and recovers all stat damage. All stat damage is temporary unless described otherwise. So that's if you succeed from that from sleeping. Additionally, some talents, spells, or items regain their ability to be used after a successful rest. So yes, we have stuff like long rest examples here. It sounds like, again, just reading this, there isn't something like a short rest. You can't just take a breather. It has to be all or nothing. Danger level. So characters can rest anywhere, but doing so inside a dungeon or perilous environment carries a high chance of failure due to the risk of a random encounter. Whilst the characters are resting in a dangerous environment, the game master checks for random encounters using the overland travel cadence. So here we have like 3 sort of states. Is the area unsafe? Is it risky? Is it deadly? And then we check for every 3 hours, every 2 hours, and every hour, going up in increasing order. Okay. Campfire. So in many cases, adventurers need a light source whilst resting. Characters can combine 3 torches into a campfire that can't be moved once lit. And then a campfire lasts for up to 8 hours whilst at least one character remains near to it, and it casts a light out to a near distance, so up to 30 feet. Again, would just make it in bold. Okay. Stealth and surprise. So hiding and sneaking. Characters who are hiding or sneaking must succeed on the dexterity checks to go undetected by other creatures within eyesight or earshot. The GM determines the frequency and difficulty of the checks based on the environment. So that, again, it goes back to that easy, normal, hard, extreme DCs that we saw before. The GM might secretly roll the check for a character if knowledge of the outcome impacts the situation. So that's the first time it said that. Like, normally I'm just like, yeah, just tell them, be transparent. But here you might be like, knowledge of it will impact the outcome. So that's when I would hide it back. Interesting. I like that. Hiding limitations. The creatures who can't hide creatures can't hide while other creatures are able to see them, even at a casual glance. It might also be impossible to hide if there's nowhere for a creature to stay out of sight. Indeed. What an interesting image that is there. I like that. The sort of white outlines of an eye of a pair of eyes, sorry, looking out from the darkness. It's quite good, that. Detecting. So detecting a hiding or sneaking creature requires the searcher to be actively look or listen for them. Looking in the right place automatically reveals a hidden creature. Otherwise, the searcher must succeed on a wisdom check to perceive sneaking or hiding, or to perceive a sneaking or hiding creature. Surprise! You call it surprise, but if you jump out and shout surprise, that's how it works. A creature who begins its turn undetected has advantage of surprise. If combat hasn't started, those with surprise take one turn before the combat initiative roll. See it on the next page. A creature that has advantage on attack rolls against surprise targets. Yep, straightforward. Attacking from hiding gives away the attacker's position afterwards, unless the GM determines otherwise. Yeah, very straightforward. And then straight into combat. We've only got a couple of pages left. I think it's like 13 pages in total for the main mechanics. So, when a fight breaks out, combat rounds begin. First of all, we determine surprise. So the GM determines if any creature are unawares of each other. A creature who surprises another takes a turn before the new initiative order is rolled. Combat initiative. So after surprise turns, the GM calls for a new initiative. Everyone makes a dexterity check. And the GM uses the highest dexterity modifier of any monsters. Yep. The person with the highest result takes the first turn, and the turns go clockwise from that person. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. So it's just who's quickest to react, and then go around from that area. I like that as a thing. Again, would say around the table or around the screen. You know, because some conferencing software, some stuff doesn't have it like around. It's more like you're in the line, etc. So again, that's me being incredibly nitpicky, I know, but that's the only thing I just like want to describe. Because if someone goes, "Oh, what do you mean? How do we go clockwise? How do we determine that?" I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for people who are playing this game. But I like that as a result. Combat turns. So characters can characters can take one action and move near again. Just put it in bold on their turn, splitting up the movement however they want. See, that's a little bit different. Before, it didn't say the movement before. It didn't say that. It just said splitting up however you want. Characters can move near, again, if they don't take an action, so they can dash. The equivalent of dashing. Actions. So we have a melee attack, we have range, we have cast a spell, and my favourite action is always, in combat, is improvising. And then multitask as well. You just shout yes and at someone. So melee attacks. So melee attacks use melee weapons. So roll 1d20 plus your strength plus talent bonuses. You hit the target if your total is equal to or greater than its AC. Again, very straightforward. That's interesting. We'll find out what talent bonuses are when we go to the characters, I'm sure. Ranged attacks. So this is the same thing. Uses ranged weapons. So it's 1d20 plus your dex plus your talent bonuses. I assume talent bonuses would actually be stuff like weapon proficiencies in certain bows and arrows or something like that. Saves on notes and missing people. Exactly, 100%. I agree with you there, Millie. Cast a spell. So casting a spell takes one action. See spell casting later on. Improvise. Yes, and do an improvised action such as swinging across a ravine on a vine. The GM might determine it requires a check or attack roll. Yeah, again, makes sense. We've got those stated like DCs from before. And then multitask. Characters can do small parallel tasks on their turn, such as standing up, speaking, activating a magic item, or quaffing a potion. Great word, quaffing, isn't it? This typically doesn't use that action. Ah, I like that. So these are like free actions, a little bit like that. Things like I like that. He's standing up, presumably from prone, perhaps. That's pretty good. They've been really good at abbreviations so far. Interesting that they haven't explained what AC is. That is true because we had DC for difficulty earlier, didn't we? Didn't have anything for AC. But again, and I missed that because obviously I know what AC means, but that is interesting. Yeah, they've been really good at abbreviations so far. Well, again, maybe though AC is mentioned in the character creation stuff though, which we've not covered yet. We have jumped ahead, so maybe it's in that section to be fair to them. But you're right, they've not covered that. And we don't know what talent bonuses and stuff like that. So that's why I would assume that's the thing. But you're right. You're absolutely right there. Damage. So when you hit a target With an attack or a spell, you damage it. Roll your weapons or spell bonus damage die and relevant bonuses. The GM subtracts that amount from the target's hit points. Yeah. Knockout. You can choose to knock out a creature unconscious instead of killing it if you reduce it to 0 hit points. I'm always a big fan of that. That's all. I always recommend that just because they might need it for something. And I'd even say, like, I know it's about to talk about critical hits here as well. As I wouldn't, I'd knock out even on a critical hit. Like, I'm just give them that choice. Personally, that's what I would do. You deal a critical hit if you roll a natural 20 on an attack roll or spell casting check. For a weapon, just double its damage dice on the attack. For a spell, you may double one of its numerical effects. Ooh, numerical effects. Terrain. Attacking or casting a spell on a creature that is hiding at least half its body behind interposing terrain has disadvantage. Okay, so it's got a bit of cover, absolutely. If you can't see a creature at all due to terrain, you can't target it. Excellent. So again, none of this, if you see it's not in the spell, it's just if it's hidden behind something, you can't target it with a spell. And presumably that's the same, that you can't target it with a spell or with weapons, like a ranged weapon. Creatures can only move half the normal distance through terrain that hampers free movements, such as ice or deep mud. Morale. As we had this earlier, so that morale. Enemies who are reduced to half their number or half their HP if it's a solo enemy flee if they fail a hard wisdom check, so that DC 15. For large groups, the GM makes one check with the leader's modifier. Yeah, we had that earlier in that thing. Death. I was going through the death thing again. So a character who goes to 0 hit points falls unconscious and is dying. A character who goes above 0 hit points wakes up and is no longer dying. Death timer. A dying character rolls 1d4 plus their con to a minimum of 1 total on their turn. They die in that many rounds unless healed or stabilized. So that line wasn't there earlier, which makes sense again if you're going to look at what does it mean for death timer, but I think that it's still kind of important. On each of the character's subsequent turns, that character rolls a d20. On a natural 20, the character rises with 1 hit point. Presumably, any other number, it doesn't count. Because you've just basically got that. It's just in case in that 1 in 5 chance that you might do it. Maybe that's what it is. Not 1 in 5. 1 in 20, right? Sorry, my brain is not good. 1 in 20 chance of doing it. Yeah, that's right. Stabilize. An intelligent creature or intelligent being can give first aid to a dying creature at close range. On a successful DC 15, so that's a hard intelligence check, the target stops dying but it's still unconscious. So yeah, I like that. It's much more. It's more difficult to get back up, but it's possible though. And death, a character who perishes is retired from the game. Straightforward. And then we go on straight to casting spells. So that, what's that? 2 pages for combat. Perfect. Amazing. So spellcasters use the raw power of creation and destruction to bend reality, shaping it to the will of their gods or ambition. Wizard magic is fickle, complicated, and volatile. Even the most learned mages tread carefully when reaching beyond the veil to grasp arcane energies. And priest magic is miraculous. How do you say miraculous? Yeah. Sacred and instinctive. Priests who offer their gods might lose the ability to cast spells unless they undertake penance. Look at that image there. Gosh, incredible. So it's nice to talk about that, 2 sort of very different ways of doing it. Interesting that they don't make Nat 1 dead. No, that's true, Millie. I guess, because before it was just all about, it fails no matter what. So yeah, when it comes to, like hitting things in combat. So yeah, no, I agree. It's nice to get rid of that death saving throw stuff off the table. That you will perish with, say I rolled a 1d4, I rolled 2, and my con modifier is a +3. So in 5 rounds, my character will perish. So I have 5 chances myself to roll a d20 to get a natural 20 and to come back up. I like it. I really love the magic rules. Yeah, so I was going to say, what I like about it, again, describing the 2 classes that have magic, wizard and priest, as this is the way you can tell the difference between them. So I quite like that. So when you cast a spell, you invoke magic to cause an effect, and casting a spell takes your action. Characters with the spellcasting talent can cast spells. So to cast a wizard spell, make a spellcasting check rolling a d20 and your intelligence modifier. To cast a priest, a priest spell, a priest spell, make it, but use your wisdom modifier instead. The DC to succeed is the spell is 10, so that's just one up from easy, and the spell's tier. That's quite cool. You're right, I do like that as a result. So obviously, if the spell tier is like, say, again, we've not come to it yet, there'll be some at the end so we can see. So if it's like 5, then you have to get 15 or over with your, say, wizard's intelligence modifier and your d20 roll. Yeah, I like that. Again, straightforward, makes it really simple. Results. If you succeed on your spellcasting check, the spell takes effect. If you fail, it does not take effect, and you can't cast that spell again until you take a long rest. Until you complete a rest, sorry. Ooh, I like that. That's quite fun. You're like, oh no, I failed to perform. No spell slots. Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm a big fan. I'm not. Less things you have to track. You're just like, I can't do that one again. Okay, just scratch that off until we have a rest. Absolutely. So straightforward. And presumably it'd be the same for the enemies as well. Oh, never have to think of another spell slot ever again. Critical success. So if you roll a natural 20 on your spell casting, you may double one of the spell's numerical effects. This remains in effect on a focus spell, so see until your next focus check. So we talked about before that idea of like you roll that focus check at the beginning of each of your turns, right? Interesting. So critical failure, if you roll a natural 1 on your spellcasting check, the spell does not take effect. If it was a focus spell, it immediately ends. Okay. So wizard spell. If the spell was a wizard spell, you can't cast it again until you successfully complete a rest. You must roll on the wizard mishap table corresponding to the spell's tier. See the next page? Priest spell. If the spell was a priest spell, your deity is greatly displeased and revokes its power. Oh no. You can't cast the spell again until you complete a ritualistic penance to your deity and successfully complete a rest. Oh, there was another game that did that. It's Dungeon Crawl Classics that does that, doesn't it? Where I think it's something similar that they do that in that you have to beg for your god's mercy or your deity's mercy, sorry. I think that's in Dungeon Crawl Classics. That's quite good. I mean, again, we've not looked at Dungeon Crawl Classics specifically on this channel, but I've read through it briefly we did it for DM's book club. And how, again, there's a lot of crunch to it, but it's also a lot of fun. It's lots of, you put people to the meat grinder in that one. And what I loved about it, I'm just looking over, where is it? Yeah, there it is. I can see my big copy of it. Like the spells are all so weird and esoteric. So you can have lots of really fun, weird things with that. But again, lots of dice rolling, so lots of like stopping and starting. Here, dead straightforward, which I very much appreciate. And the penance. So the GM determines the exact nature of penance that you must undertake based on your deity and alignment. Penance requires a holy quest, a ritualistic atonement, or material sacrifice that you donate or destroy. Inadequate or subservient penance, such as donating your sacrifice to a party member, only displeases your deity further and makes a spell loss permanent. Oh gosh. And there you go, we've got the sacrifice tier. So 150 gold for a spell 5 tier. It's probably quite hefty actually in this game. Let's look at these wizard mishaps then. Tiers 1 to 2. Oh, interesting. So we've got a d12 for this. Oh, devastating. If you roll another 1, a natural 1 on a d12, you have to roll twice and combine the effects. Oh, I love that. You have explosion, refraction. Your hand slipped. Oh, I like the naming of these things. This is quite good. A mind wound. Discorporation. A random piece of your gear disappears forever. Oh no. Spellworm. You use the ability to cast a random spell from each of your turns until you pass a DC 12 Constitution check, and then you regain the ability after completing a long rest. Oh, so you diminish. It's sort of eating away at your spells as a result. Oh no. Harmonic failure. You lose the ability to cast a random spell so it's just that one, whereas a spellworm eats up a lot of them. Poof. You suppress all light within a near distance from you. Oh no, including sunlight and magical light for 10 rounds. That's really bad. The horror! You scream uncontrollably for 3 rounds in Primordial, drawing lots of attention. Energy Surge. You glow bright purple for 10 rounds, granting enemies advantages on attacks against you. And finally, Unstable Conduit. Sorry. You have disadvantage on casting spells for the same tier for 10 rounds. Nice, I like that. There's a good choice of stuff about damage to yourself, losing stuff. A lot of like can't cast it for a week, etc. But it's not like, oh, the lower it is, the worse it is. I guess because you've got Devastation. I like that one, combining 2 effects. That's pretty good. But I like how sort of in the middle, which is probably the more likely ones you're going to roll for a d12 as well. Like that Spell Worm, brutal. And Missing Antlers and Poof is quite a good one. Hello, Brian. Hello, my friend. Poof seems especially bad given the consequences of Dark and Shadowdark. Well, that's it, isn't it? You think, a 9. That can't be that bad. I think that's the worst one, right? Like, because when light is so important, you get disadvantage on everything in the dark. And for 10 rounds as well, that's like an hour in game time. Like that. Listen, I like that. This is a good table. Good table. Scrolls and wands. Using scrolls and wands contain magic spells. Spellcasters can use them to cast these spells if the spell is on their list, even if they don't know the spell. Nice. So if they do so, they must succeed on a spellcasting check with a DC of 10 plus the tier of the spell contained in the wand or scroll. So again, that's sort of like difficulty check as well. Again, if it's like a tier 3, I'm just guessing, like if it's a tier 3, presumably like it'll be plus 3, so 13. Failing to cast a spell from the wand does not impact the ability to cast known spells. So yeah, you just fail it at that point. Scroll. So after a spell casting attempt with a scroll, the magic writing disappears from the scroll and ceases to work. On a critical failure, casters with mishap tables must roll on a mishap. Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's quite a cool image there as well. Quite like that. Poof! Game over, man. Game over. Exactly, Hatchling. I love that. Wands. So on a failed casting attempt, the wand stops working until you complete a rest. Oh, damn. So yeah, you don't... Yeah, that's pretty bad. On a critical failure, the wand permanently breaks, and casters with mishap tables must roll a mishap. All right. Spell attributes. We've got tiers, which will go from 1 to 5. The range, close, near, or far. Again, would put that a little bit... I'll put that again, so it's going to be similar to the other range, the other distances as well. Can deliver you the spell's effects. Self range means you can only target yourself with the spell. Duration is for how long they last. Spells can have an instant effect or last for several turns, rounds, or longer. See the focus for spells with a focus duration. Overlapping effects. Ongoing effects of the same spell on the same target do not combine. The spell with the most powerful effect takes precedence, such as a spell with a longer remaining duration. I see. Focus. So some spells last for as long as you can focus. You can't cast any other focus spell whilst focusing. You can end the focus spells at any time. So again, that concentration thing we were talking about. Hashling says, this seems also beautifully streamlined and communicated. May have to pick up a copy. Well, you can grab the quick start. I'll put the link again. This link is for the core rules, which we're not looking at. We're looking at the quick start. But if you go onto that website, you can get not only the quick start, which has the player's book that we're looking at just now, and the GM's book for free as a PDF. You can also get the solo Dark one, which is how you would do it as a solo game as well. So you can pick that up and have a look. So that's what we're looking at just now. But yeah, it's straightforward, simple, straight to the point as well. So if you use that link, then go into the main page, you should be able to see the PDFs for the quick starts there. To maintain focus, make a spell casting check at the start of your turn if you were casting that spell. Success means it remains into effect until the start of your next turn, and failure means the spell ends. If you were focusing, you do not lose the ability to cast that spell. That's the important thing. But if you critically fail to maintain focus, treat it as a standard critical failure. So it's not like, and now that's gone until I have a rest. You can recast it again. I like that. You take damage or become distracted whilst focused due to an earthquake, for example. You must immediately make a spellcasting check to maintain the focus. Yes, absolutely. All right, so here we've got some examples of some spells. Again, we're not going to look through all of them. We've got obviously split up into the classes of wizard and priest. And so we got some. Oh, and interesting. These are also hyperlinked as well, so you can go straight to that page, which is nice. Again, very similar to previous, other spellcasting RPGs. I can see obviously we've got magic missile there. Actually, maybe I'll look at magic missile because it says you can't target something unless you can see it. Magic missile you can always attack, so I want to just check what that is. But we'll have a look around. Oh, so it just goes straight into it. Perfect. All right. Well, I'll click to magic missile. So tier 1 wizard, duration instant. Oh, look at that. Magic missile. Range is far, so it can go quite far. You have advantage on your check to cast this spell. A glowing bolt of force streaks from your open hand, dealing 1d4 damage to one target, and that's it. So you don't get like multiple or anything like that. Okay, a little bit different to then what I know from D&D, but that's great. I think I like the fact that you have advantage. That's how it deals with, like, doesn't automatically hit. You got it at an advantage, which is pretty good. Like that. All right, we won't look at all of them. Oh, what a great image that is. Really good. We won't look at all of them. Oh, that one's also good as well. Oh, and it comes towards the end on this one. I guess maybe the character creation stuff is at those one-page ones. Maybe it's in the actual players thing earlier. But there is a community. So we've got a Discord, which is good. I assume, yep, the link works. That's great. Also keep an eye out for gaming conventions for Shadowdark events and open tables. Amazing. Oh, runs Kelsey runs open table and schedule games at GaryCon each year. Come find where she's lurking and jump in. Amazing. Fantastic. That's quite good. Oh, there's a newsletter as well. I'm a big fan of newsletters. So there's a link to it there. Find content. So that's quite good. Right at the end, it's just like, hey, this is the quick start. Having a page dedicated to where you can find out more. Not only just like visit the website for like our stuff. Here's community stuff. Other people who are playing the game and talking about it. So that's quite fun, isn't it? And you see spectacular creators such as Taylor, Lauren, that's two different people. Yeah, Lauren Davis, James, and Jake have published an amazing array of adventures, etc., under a third-party license. Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, it has a third-party license as well. And check out their, I think. Oh, it does link. I'm gonna check. Oh, amazing! It actually links to their. I'll show you, folks. It links to their person on the Drive for RPG, so it shows you what they've done. So if I went to the next person in that list, which was Lauren Davis Weggen, interesting. It's not that their stuff's not on RPG Drive for RPG, which is a shame. But let's try James. Oh, James is not on there. Let's try Jake. Let's try them. Oh, that goes to their itch. That's quite cool, isn't it? I like that. That you have people who've created stuff in the community. There you go. Got stuff for. You can actually go and check that out. So there you go. One with nature, druid class for Shadowdark RPG. That's cool. I think that's a really cool way. Like, especially in the quick start, right? Very cool. All right. Oh, and then we've got a character sheet at the end. And random character generation. Oh, amazing. So you can just check it out there. Perfect. On the page. All right. Well, let's go and look at the actual character creation. How are we doing? Oh, we've got about half an hour. We'll go through as much as we can. But that's pretty good, isn't it? Like, it feels incredibly well streamlined, put together. Feels very interesting. I wonder, maybe I got that wrong then. Maybe the pre-gen characters are actually separate to this and maybe have a separate file for it. I, again, didn't really check before I looked, before I opened this, so let's go from there. All right, so this is the character bit. We'll go through as much as we can. Again, we might skip over a few bits and pieces because I think we've got a good sense of what the game mechanics are. As it says, it feels very streamlined, 5th edition D&D. Oh, Kieran says, I had to go away, but I'm now back. I'm very fond of having community content like links in the actual document. Yeah, exactly. And no worries, I'm glad to have you back. Yeah, I quite like that for the quick start as well. I mean, maybe the people would be a bit like funny about having it in the core book, but I like how here it's a free thing, and then it's also something that you could easily update. Perhaps, like just adding a few links at the end. So I like that, and I like linking to third-party content that people have made for your stuff. I think that's really cool as well. But let's go on to that final bit of actually character creation and see what we have. So, to make a Shadowdark RPG character, also called a player character or PC, call them Dungeoneers or something, adventurers, come on. Grab dice and a blank character sheet, which you saw at the back, and go through the next few pages. You can also view a walkthrough at YouTube, the Arcane Library. All right, I'm going to click on that, go to their YouTube page. I'm going to... Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't say start. Oh, it's come up. Amazing. So, yeah, so this is probably Kelsey going through the thing, right? Amazing. So, yeah, and it takes her about... Oh, takes them, sorry, 18 minutes or so to go through the thing. Brilliant. Amazing. So, yeah, an instant link to that sort of stuff. Great, I love that. Straight in on it as well. All right. So, name. So choose a worthy name for your adventurer. Ancestry. Great, I like that. Your character's cultural and ancestral heritage. Your character's job. You're starting at level 1, and you gain levels by earning XP. You start with 0 experience or XP points. You gain XP based on the treasure and boons you earn from adventuring. Alignment and deity. So your character's cosmic link to the opposing forces of law and chaos or balanced neutrality. Title. As you gain levels, your prestige grows. Your title is based on your level, class, and alignment. Oh, I hope there's a random table to see that. That'll be really cool. Background. Your history and past experience. You're adept at tasks related to your background. Stats. We've gone over it. So this is your strength, dexterity, con, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma. These are your physical and mental characteristics. Hit points represents the amount of injury you can sustain before you die. Taking damage from weapons, traps, spells, and other sources temporarily reduces your HP, and you can regain it back by resting. There we go, AC, armor class. So there you go, Millie. That's where they had it there. I thought they would have it earlier. Is a type of difficulty class that shows how tough it is to injure you, whether because you are agile or because you wear armor. Your class determines the armor type you can wear. Your AC starts at 10 plus your dexterity modifier. Wearing armor changes your AC, which we'll see later on. Right. Attacks. The weapons you wield and how you use them to fight an enemy. You see combat, so we've gone through combat already. You can wield weapons listed for your class. Talents. Your special abilities. Your class, ancestry, and talent rolls grant you these. The benefits of talents combine, even if the same talent is rolled multiple times. Oh, interesting. Some stacks. Fun. Spells. Some classes can learn and cast magic spells. See more spells for detail. Hello, Sam. How are you doing, my friend? You've come in just in time. We're looking at character creation. We've been looking at Shadowdark, which is basically almost like it feels like a very streamlined version of D&D 5th edition, but also with some OSR elements to it as well. And so far, we've been really enjoying it. But it's glad to have you here, my friend. I hope you're doing well. You've come in just in time for us to create characters. So, gear. So your equipment, you can carry a number of items equal to 10 or your strength stat. I like that it's a baseline, whichever is higher. I like that. So, for first level characters, most games begin with first level characters, fledgling heroes who are ready to go on dangerous adventures. Perfectly timed. Absolutely, my friend. First level characters start with the following. So we've got backgrounds, and I like how I like that. So it not only has that list, you can actually flip forward to those pages. It's hyperlinked. That's pretty clever. So background, page 14, stats, choice of ancestry, choice of classes, 1 class talent roll, hit points equal to 1 roll of the class's hit point die, plus the constitution modifier, a title, choice of alignment, and then 2d6 times 5 gold pieces to buy gear. Okay, so you buy gear. It doesn't necessarily come with your class or your background. Ooh, a random table, our favourite. So the background knowledge and skills might provide something useful during your adventures. Work with your GM to determine if your background provides you advantages in a given situation. So we've got D20 roll here. How on earth do you pronounce that at the bottom? Chirurgeon? Like a surgeon? What is it? That's incredible. I'm going to check if that's an actual... Well, I assume that's an actual word. But what are you talking about? Yeah, let's have a see. This is where I'm gonna new words everywhere. Is an arcane an old-fashioned term for surgeon. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna say, how do you pronounce it? Oh no, I don't want you to play the video. Julian, no. Does anyone else use Julian's videos? Julian Miguel. Chirurgeon. Yeah, chirurgeon, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I think it's an old word for bloodletting. Everything can be rolled randomly in Shadowdark, says Brian. Amazing. Or folks that did that job. Yeah, no, that's interesting. That's such an unusual word. I love it. I think for something like this, it totally makes sense that you'd have something like that. But we've got stuff like banished. Your people cast you out for supposed crimes. Cult initiate, you know, blasphemous secrets and rituals. Again, I like how it's just like one line thing. That's enough for you to jump off and to that's your prompt for stuff. I like it. Stats. And so we got that normal stat table. So again, it goes from, the lower it is, the lower your modifier will be, and it goes from a -4 to a +4. So to determine your character's stats, roll 3d6 for each one. Note that each total and modifier on your character sheet. Optionally, if none of your stats are 14 or higher, you may roll a new set of 6 numbers. So yeah, that's something I've done in the past for my characters as well, where it's when obviously in D&D manually rolled it's like 46 and drop the lowest one. If all of your stat numbers don't total to 70 or above, you can re-roll them. I think that's something that I've been doing in the past. I like here, it's like you could literally just get 3 threes and like 3 ones, and you're like, well, that's it. And then we've got strength. Again, the same thing as before: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And you just sort them out there. And then ancestry, what have we got? We've got dwarf, so brave, stalwart folk, as sturdy as the stone kingdoms they carve inside mountains. Common and dwarfish language. And you're stout. You start with a +2 HP. Roll hit points per level with advantage. Oh, that's quite nice. I like that. Elf, ethereal, graceful people who revere knowledge and beauty. And beauty. Brains and beauty, I remember that. Elves see far and live long. Common, Elvish, and Sylvan languages. Farsight, you get a +1 to attack rolls with range weapons or a +1 to spellcasting checks. It's an either-or one there. Nice. Then you have Goblin, green, clever beings who thrive in dark, cramped places, as fierce as they are tiny. So common and goblin languages, and you can't be surprised. That's your thing you get there. Halfling, small, cheerful country folk with mischievous streaks. They enjoy life's simple pleasures. Common, but you're stealthy. So once per day, you can become invisible for 3 rounds. Hang on. I get more hit points. I can hit better. I become invisible. But for 3 rounds as well. That's amazing in this game. So I am the night. What does it say down here? And so the primordial age ends, and the gods fled. In their places rose mortals, and they scattered the earth with their shining kingdoms and lost ruins. And then we have half-orcs, towering, tusked warriors who are as daring as humans and relentless as orcs. They know common and orcish languages. You have a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with melee weapons. And then human, bold, adaptable, and diverse people who learn quickly and accomplish mighty deeds. Common and 1 additional common language, which you can find out on one of the pages. And ambitious, you gain an additional talent roll at first level. I'm going to be honest, no, I'd 100% want to become a halfling and become invisible for 3 rounds. That's like half an hour. Great image there as well, but again, no alt text. And then it goes into the different classes. So we've got 4 classes in this game. We've got fighter, thief, wizard, and priest. So we'll have a look at them. We won't go into too much detail because it's half past the hour now, and we usually try to wrap up within an hour and a half, 2 hours. So the fighter class is blood-soaked gladiators, indented armor, acrobatic duelists, and with darting swords, or far-eyed elven archers who carve their legends with steel and grit. So they have presumably proficiency in all weapons, and same with armor as well. 1d8 per level for their hit points. Hauler, add your constitution modifier if positive to your gear slots. Ah, nice, excellent. Weapon mastery, choose 1 type of weapons such as longswords. You gain a +1 attack and damage with that weapon type. In addition, add half of your level down to these rolls, so rolling down. Grit, choose strength or dexterity. You have advantage on checks of that type to overcome an opposing force, such as kicking open a stuck door, which is strength, or slipping free of rusty chains, which is dexterity. Kira says, apparently the word Chigun came about in the late in 1530s to make the word surgeon more similar to the Greek roots as opposed to the Latin roots, the older word surgeon, which is first recorded in the 13th century. That comes from, but never really caught on. I can't. Yeah, it's adding like a whole like 3 letters to it. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, thanks for that, Kieran. Appreciate it. And then we've got fighter talent, so that's a 2d6. And you get to roll in, so you get that extra talent as a result. Nice. Oh, look at that image. What a great image. Beautiful. And then we have the same with the priest. I'll read out these things at least. So, crusading Templars, prophetic shamans, and mad-eyed zealots who wield the power of their gods to cleanse the unholy. Got Turn Undead there, I can see. Spellcasting, you know 2 tier 1 spells of your choice from the priest spell list, which you see, and every time you gain a level, you choose a new priest spell to learn according to the priest spells. Nice. Oh, well, there is spells. No, not spell slots. You're right. That's what I was going to say then. So you go up to level 10 in this game. I see. So interesting. Interesting. Okay. I wonder are you able to, again, maybe something I would do is maybe be able, if like, oh, this spell's not working for me, if I'm at level 1, if I'm at level 2, I've got 3 tier 1 spells, and I'm like, one of them isn't working very well, maybe at the next level, you can swap one out, you know, that's probably what I'd do. The thief class. So rooftop assassins, grinning con artists, and cloaked cat burglars can pluck a gem from claws of a sleeping demon and sell it for twice its worth. We've got backstab here, so if you hit a creature who's unaware of your attack, so if you can surprise them, you deal an extra weapon die of damage. So again, that's sort of sneak attack thing. Add additional weapon damage additional weapon dice of damage equal to half your level rounded down. And you can do some training as well. So as thievery, you are adept at the thieving skills and have necessary tools of the trade secreted on your person. They take up no gear slots. You are trained in the following tasks and have advantage on any associated skills. Nice. And again, you've got the talents here. That's another great image there. And then finally, wizards, rune tattooed adepts, bespectacled, magi and flame-conjured witches who dare manipulate the fell forces of magic. Learning spells here, you can learn permanently learn a wizard spell from a spell scroll by studying it for a day and succeeding on a hard DC 15 intelligence check. Whether you succeed or fail, you expend the spell scroll. Spells learned in this way do not count towards your known spells. What have you? Brian says, besides what's in the core book, there are 8 additional classes split between the 3 curse scroll signs that Kelsey wrote. Not that you need a ton more classes in a game that's trying to be more down to basics, but I do like some of the extra choices. Nice. Yeah, I was going to say, like, I feel for a quick start, again, trying to get people to play a new game, as we all know, is difficult in the first place. But the fact this is again, it is streamlined, it's not, it is D&D, but not D&D, and it's like, you have these 4 classes, you have these 6 ancestries, just pick those and go. I quite appreciate that as a result. So that's interesting. There's 12 against the free curse scroll signs. Interesting. All right, titles. There is random title generators. As you gain levels, your title changes to reflect an increase in your fame or infamy. Your legend begins to precede you as your renown grows for ill or good. An improved title could represent opportunities that were previously out of your reach. Oh, I like it. Oh, so it's divided by class and then based on your alignment. That's great. Oh, look, Lord and Lady, and if you're lawful. Warlord, if you're chaotic. That's great for the fighter titles there. I like that. Chaos Knight for your priest titles there. Oracle. How do you pronounce that one? Is that Harspecs? Harspecs? Don't know. I'm going to have to look that one up. Welcome to Learning New Words with Fiona. It's not the best show in the world. How do I pronounce that without... Hang on. I'm going to use Google, our friend Google pronunciations, and we'll see what they say.
Haruspecs.
Haruspecs. Okay. Thanks Google. Not sponsored by Google. Haruspex. Haruspex. Okay. Oh, my mouse is slowly dying. Okay, there we go. We're back. Haruspex. Interesting. Here, what have we got for thief? We have cutthroat. Classic. Oh, bandit, king, and queen. As that's neutral. Wraith, I guess, is chaotic. Boss as lawful. Bandit, king, or queen. I like that. And we've got Archmage for lawful here. Druid is there. Titles amazing. I'm a big fan of these titles. I like it. Yeah, so it's not. Sorry, it's not level. Oh, I see. So he's not. Sorry, it's not a random table. It's by your level. You get called that. I see. I thought it was like a random table. Apologies. That's my fault on that front. Maybe. Yeah, you can upgrade it. I guess maybe that's the thing I would upgrade it to, is like if titles, maybe you can unlock certain things. So because I went on about this in the DM's book club recently. If you have a guild or have if you're part of something, if you're able to unlock like the next level. So first you're like, I don't know, an initiate, and then you're like an assistant, and then you're like project manager, etc. Each level you gain something with it, but it's like a storytelling thing. Like, oh, you gain a team that work under you, and like a retainers, that sort of thing. So that's the only thing I would maybe add, is that, oh, you've got Lord and Lady for fighter. You get a horse, that sort of thing. Alignment. So alignment defines your role in the clash between good and evil. All creatures are connected to the eternal conflict waged by law, chaos, and neutrality, whether they know it or not. Law is, I'm never going to say this word, benevolence. Chaos is, oh man, malevolence. And neutrality is impartial, favoring neither. Choose one of the following 3 alignments. Oh, great. I like it. So again, it's just streamlining. It's just making it easy to know. Oh, Brian says, I don't know if you mentioned it already, but Kelsey wrote a solo play adaptation which she calls Shadowdark, and you can download that PDF for free. I'm trying out a solo game using that. Yes, I did mention that earlier, but thank you, Brian, for bringing it up again. Yes, so I feel like I like that you can get a free version, not only of the quick start, but of the solo play as well. Interestingly enough, Brian, would you say if you were doing that one, you needed the core book for that? Or you just needed like the quick start? Because that was the only thing I wondered. I didn't really have... I sometimes find that solo supplements, they don't necessarily have the core mechanics of the game in it, so maybe you need like the core book. So yeah, let me know about that, because I'm curious. Like what does it contain? Would you say you didn't like? I would suggest obviously getting the quick start for the player and GMs anyway, because obviously it has all the sort of rules in there streamlined anyway. But like, you would need that for the solo dark to work, if you see what I mean. Or can you just use the solo dark supplement itself? Anyway, we've got chaotic, lawful, and neutral. So chaotic characters align themselves with destruction, ambition, and wickedness. Chaotic characters adopt a survival of the fittest mentality. Lawful characters align themselves with fairness, order, and virtue. Lawful characters operate from a good of the whole mentality. Good, yeah, greatest good sort of thing. The greater good. Neutral. So neutral characters find a balance between law and chaos. They align with the growth of the cycle of growth and decline, adopting a nature must take its course mentality. Nice, simple, straightforward. And we've got languages as well. Again, nice tables to have it. We've got, reptilian. Oh, Thanian, Minotaur. Minotaurs, beastmen, manticores. Moran. So that's merfolk. Nice. And then deities. We won't go into too much detail about the deities, but I'll read out this a little bit here. So, many gods of the universe are personifications of law, chaos, and neutrality. The most well-known gods are listed here, and a deity may worship any deity or none. Priests must choose one god to serve faithfully. A priest's deity can revoke the gift of spellcasting if the priest commits blasphemous acts. Most folk worship one of the 4 lords, so these folks here, I'm guessing. Oh no, there's more here, sorry. The lawful neutral gods who stand for justice, order, and mercy. Malevolent beings worship one of the 3 dark trio. Chaotic deities who evince power, destruction, and cruelty. Evince, ooh. I'm going to look that word up, because that's another word I don't know. again, welcome to Fiona's new hour of learning new words. Events. Oh, I don't need to pronounce it. I want to know what it means. Reveal the presence. Reveal the presence of. Interesting. There we go. I don't want to put a comment on. No. I'll get rid of it in a second. There were once 9 primary gods, but 2 are the lost, forbidden or forgotten. Many folks still refer to the 9 in oaths they swear. And ancient stories, they always begin with beneath the eyes of the 9. Oh, amazing. We talked about this before with was it Told by Starlight? It was another storytelling one we talked about, where you start stories with like, as so say it told, and as the grass grows long, that sort of way, rather than once upon a time. I like that sort of thing. Oh, Brian says you can definitely just do the quick start and Shadowdark. It's not necessary to have the core book. Shadowdark is very short, 12 pages, and provides instructions on calculating the odds of a question you will ask the oracle, then using rolling a d20 and tables provided for the oracle to drive things forward. Ah, amazing. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for that, Brian. Appreciate it. So yeah, so then we've got little bits of all these gods, the lost as well. I like this idea of the lost, and their names expunged from history and memory. So that you can always make them up as well. Oh, wow, look at that image as well. Then we have gear, of course, but yeah, whatever for gear. Gear slots, we've talked about. Crawling gear. It uses 7 gear slots and contains the following items. Oh, like a starter pack, so to speak. Here you go. Then we've got armor, we've got weapons, and we've got some stuff for the weapons as well. So finesse, loading, thrown, two-handed, range. So yeah, so we have a key to actually sort of look into these not look into, but like to decode some of the things. So, because that's something I've always found with some older systems. Like I understand that sometimes that's how they'll describe like an NPC that you come across. They will give maybe their perceived sex, what their alignment is, and then their stats as one line. Sometimes you get that in older D&D for sure. And whilst that's fine, I do wish they would have something like this where at the beginning of every time it just tells you what it is, because this might be your first time reading that book. Oh, Kieran says, I was wrong earlier. Kierjan was trying to bring back Latin roots. Surgeon was derived from Latin, chirurga, and Greek. I'm not pronouncing that, unfortunately, sorry. I'm never going to get that, by the Old French surgeon. Interestingly, the modern chiropractor shares this Latin root. Chiro meaning hand. In both cases, it's because they work directly by hand. Surgeons performing operations by hand, as opposed to medications, and chiropractors adjusting the patient's spine by hand. Oh, well, that is interesting. Chiro. Ah, yeah. Well, thank you for that. Apologies, I cannot pronounce any of the Greek words or Latin words. That is interesting. I very much appreciate it. Oh, the more you know. You came for Shadowdark. We're now talking about etymology. And, of course, we've got a character name as well. Oh, and that's quite cool. So you've got the D20, and then it's separated by ancestry as well, which is nice. And it looks like, from a glance, again, you don't have to tie it to a gender expression or anything like that, but I like that. You can just be like, yeah, my name's Jasper. The end, And then we have stuff for leveling up as well. I think it's going to tell us about... Oh, wow, look at that image. So it's that same party again, but they're fighting... It looks like some sort of creatures with like... what's the word? Like tentacle pods? Definitely tentacles of some sort. Oh, grim. And that's it. And talent rolls... Okay, yes, talent rolls is based on your classes, wasn't it? There you go. Well, there you go. We've gone through the whole... Shadowdark for the players at least, the player guide. I'm just going to zoom back up to the top and zoom out. Like I said, we've not had a chance to look at the GM's quick start guide. Again, it's about roughly at 68 pages. You can see there's lots of random tables for stuff, which is great. I'm just having a look here of the stuff. So it talks about like running the game, core ethos. So yes, that would be if you were looking at those principles that we've talked about before. We've got treasure, we've got monsters as well, and we have importantly here that quick start scenario adventure, which is pretty good. So that's quite cool that rather than having it all in one contained book, it's already split up, so you can give the players that quick start so they can make characters whilst you read what the adventure is going to be. So that's I like that. That's a definite separation of that. But there you go. And that, yeah, so then most of that as well is just monsters and treasure. And then the game principles is what, roughly 14 pages, I want to say. 16 pages. That's not too bad as well, considering how, again, the 2 columns things works really well for this one because it's short. The text is bigger, so we're not having to enhance a lot of stuff. So there you go. But there you go. That was Shadowdark. Quick start. So what do we think? Yeah, I think ultimately, I know I have that luxury of obviously playing a lot of D&D previously, so instantly I'm like, oh, it would be a straightforward game to introduce to players who were like, I want to try other games. So it has that same element of it. I like the idea of the turn order stuff. I love the spell stuff. Again, simplifying it all down, I think it's good. The character creation, dead straightforward, quite simple. I'm going to go back to the... I like the stuff at the beginning where, again, it's the quickest thing for players to look at. It's like, oh, I need something for gear. I need to know what my turn is. I think my biggest criticism is in terms of layout, just like this near thing. I know it's such a small thing, but like we know from reading this that near should look like that, and it's just to indicate that that is a unit of measurement, because otherwise move up to near, what does that mean? And it happens throughout. In my head, like just put near like in bold and stuff like that. I know that's that's a minor thing. Different classes, I like that, again, straightforward, and everyone knows that. I think that's quite good. Melly says, I like the implication that players need to know all the things... I like the implication that players need to know all the things in this book. Yeah, and that's it. And even then, all you need to know really is, if I zoom up a little bit, those basics, right? Because obviously you can get the pre-gens with this as well. So you just know the basics of the rule, like describe an action, as all in the first... Yeah, that's just 2 pages worth. So that's pretty good as well. Oh, well, no, it's kind of, that's the basics, isn't it? So, yeah, I think it's straightforward and stuff. It like I said, like you guys said, oh, it's the player's job to know, not just the GM dispensing these rules. Absolutely, yeah. I think that's just that little gentle shift in sort of ownership is very good, and I think it's actually quite an easy read to do as well. Obviously, the odd archaic word throwing me a little bit, but again, straightforward. And like the spell list, from what it looked like, again, you have them up here at the top, and then they're short. Again, you could just cut these out. If you print it out, you can cut them out and have them to hand and like use them as cards as well, which I think is quite good. Yeah, I think it's very much straightforward. I love this wizard mishap table because it's not like low is bad or high is good. It's like all of them have like an effect on it. I like the idea of torchlight being a big thing. I guess I would like to see a bit more of that. Presumably, again, if we look at the Game Master's Guide at some point, that will have a bit more about like what to do with light sources and like how to emphasize that, maybe creating vibes around that and impressing the importance of that a little bit. And obviously, I know we didn't read through the quick start scenario, and maybe it has more of an emphasis on that as well. Because I feel like that's one of its unique selling points, is that an hour in game world is an hour in real world, which I really like that. I think that's quite fun. Yeah, combat stuff seems, again, straightforward, quick, and like as Millie said, the onus of the players to know what their stuff does. Character creation seems quite quick as well. I think the images are good. I like these ones. I think, yeah, if there was alt text, that would have been just a little thing to put on it. But yeah, I guess my question though is, do I feel like I would run this instead of D&D? And I think yes is the answer. If I felt like I wanted to choose something else, but I didn't have time to prep anything. However, I do think I would need to look at that Game Master's Guide to see what that initial starting scenario is like. I think that's the only thing I would check. I think, if anything, maybe this is the thing I was thinking before, Brian, is that maybe using that dungeon in the Game Master's Guide with the Solo Dark and trying that out would be probably interesting. I do still like this font. I like the purple and the black related to it. I think, again, I know this will probably be in the core book, I'd actually like a little bit more world like building, a little bit more lore stuff. It feels very streamlined, so I can give it to them. But I think for me as a GM, maybe it will be in the GM's guide again, but I'm like, oh, I do want to know more. I'm keen to know more, but I don't know if I feel like I want to run it. But again, maybe that's the thing. As soon as I play it, I'm like, oh, it is quite easy. Like I feel like I can pick this up pretty easily. I don't know if I feel currently like I'd run this over the other, but because this is the thing. When we talked about Outgunned 2 weeks ago, that won Silver Best Product of the Year and Best RPG. That made me very excited to play it because it was a genre that I'm not a particular fan of. These are big action films, but it was like, here's a new mechanic, here's everything, and it just was written in such a way that got me excited. I think this is very streamlined and easy, straightforward. It's not got me as excited though, and I don't know if that might be just a me thing, so to speak. Well, and that's exactly what I was going to say. So I get this is a quick start, but what's the hook to actually play this? So I think the hook, it feels like the unique selling point is this idea of darkness, right? That you don't have dark vision. Everything is, you have a torch that lasts an hour, and the hour was both only in-game. 1 hour in the in-game world is an hour to the outside, the real world as well, and putting timers. That's the other thing that wasn't necessarily explained too much, but I presume it's because we didn't look at it in detail with the spells, perhaps. Presumably, there are spells that have timers on, and check it and updating timers, etc. That feels to me like that's a management thing as well, right? That's the thing that I think is exciting. It didn't explain that too much, but presumably because the timers are related to spells perhaps, or something else, maybe an ongoing effect, and being aware of that is the other thing I would think about. So I was just trying to see if I could see anything, like 5 rounds, so maybe it's that. But that's exactly, you've hit the nail on the head there. Is that what is the hook to play this? Is it because we're looking for something that is a streamlined version of D&D, or is it to try and to get into that OSR feel of stuff for someone who doesn't know any of that stuff? So I think it's a very well written quick start. Really well written. I think it's very streamlined and stuff. But yeah, I'm just there going like, am I going to run this for my game on Sunday, for example? And the answer is I don't know. I think, again, I feel like I need to read this more. I think that's the thing. I'm curious, but then there's onus on me to read more about it from the Game Master's Guide and read that quick start adventure. So I'm glad it has a quick start adventure and the character sheets as well for me to look at. So I think it's a well put together thing. I think, like I said, the only thing I think is missing is just a couple of formatting and typo stuff, and I think alt text. I always harp on about alt text, as you guys know. But there you go. But yeah, I think I do see why it's got a lot of the word. I don't want to say the word hype. That's not what I mean at all. But I see why it's got people's awareness of it, because it's very clean. It's very much well put together as a product. And I think that's the thing that I found out with Outgunned as well. It was like, for me, I was like, oh wow, it's actually a really well written, well put together product. And it has this interesting mechanic and stuff like that. Do I think Shadowdark, from this quick read through, deserved those Ennies and deserved the awards? I don't think I have enough. I don't think that's for me to say, because I haven't read enough of this. But I do think it's a good product in terms of creating it. So that's the thing I think is it's something to take away, is that even if your game concept maybe isn't strong, which I'm not saying this is, but if it's not a strong concept, if it's readable, if it's in a streamlined version like this, if someone can take it up and run, if it's got character sheets, if it's got a scenario, that makes a big difference in that sense. I would say the artwork as well, I think is very good on that front as well. Brian says, I think it's both a simpler version of D&D mechanically, as well as a game that has a particular flavour, style of play that definitely runs along the lines of OSR. So maybe that is it's targeting 2 audiences, isn't it? Maybe that's the other unique selling point as well. But then I think what intrigues me is that I would love to see a bit more lore, which then maybe in the Game Master's Guide or in the core book. So yeah, lots to think about, I think. Lots to ponder. So I hope this has been an interesting thing. I think I'm glad I've had a look at it, because I wasn't so sure about it. As always with these things, I'm like, oh, is this game for me? I'm not so sure. I'm glad we've done it, and I feel like, yeah, I'm really glad it feels like a really well put together quick start. So again, if people are interested, you can go get the core book. Let me go back to my big page. Oh gosh, it's almost 1 o'clock. Oh no. Hello. So yeah, you can go grab the core rules. Like I said, it's about $30 for the core rules, which is about 300 pages of this stuff. Or, as we've done, we've gone through the quick start guide. As Brian mentioned earlier, we can do the solo guide, going through that as well. You would need the quick start guide at least to work with the solo stuff. And yeah, and have a look for yourself, see what you folks think, and maybe then run that for your table, and yeah, get a vibe of it. I think yeah, that's my thing is like I'm very well put together. I need to do more. I need to look into it more. I think so. Yeah, very much enjoyed it. Thanks everyone. I very much appreciate it. Did you guys hear that? There's something moved somewhere. Spooky, spooky. So as always, I've been Fiona. What am I rolling? I run What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast. We do regular, like Too Long Didn't Read streams here, roughly twice a week, when I remember, and also when life doesn't get in the way. And that's where but on the podcast, we run different RPG systems. We've done interviews with folks as well. We've got a few interviews coming out just now. We've got a few actual plays coming up as well. Keep your eyes on end of September. There's going to be an announcement on all the social medias, which is very exciting. So if you're interested, please come along and support. I very much appreciate it. If you're like, Fiona, I like the sound of this game, but it doesn't have 100... It doesn't have like a new player's handbook out just now, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. But you can check out the DM's Book Club, which is a weekly book club podcast where we talk about some Dungeons and Dragons and discuss how we might include them in our role-playing campaigns. And we talk about sort of anything from between settings, like character, like stat blocks, etc., all sorts of pieces. And yeah, just having. Again, it's not about we read the books so that you guys don't have to, but also it's just a way to be like, okay, let's face it, it's one of the biggest role-playing games of the last 50 years. It's hard to ignore it. So what can we take and what can we do and improve from it and use it in our own stories? Because that's the thing, it's about telling stories. That's what we're about. We're also just complete amateurs talking rubbish. We're not experts at all. So if you can jump in at any point in our thing, and if there's a topic that interests you, then you can come and join in and start from there. What else is there? We've got a few more of these. We've got another one of these on Friday this week. So I think Thursday I've got stuff happening. She says, I should have this up and atom. Let me look. On Friday we've got another ENnie award-winning game. I'm going to look through. We've got Koriko. Yes, a magical. Hang on. Let me expand the thing so I can read it. Koriko, a magical year. So this is a game for one player designed to be a sort of reflective solo play. It is a bubbling cauldron of simple rules and writing prompts stirred together to produce the story of a teenage witch spending a year away from home in an unfamiliar city called Koriko. Koriko, yeah. So he's sort of like based on that sort of Studio Ghibli film, which Kiki's Delivery Service. I almost forgot the name of it then. Oh no. So we're going to look at that on Friday, which I'm excited for, and then we've got a few others next week. Like I said, I had to do a little bit of shifting around for stuff because of last week we had Labor Day weekend, and then I had to take my partner for a hospital appointment. Again, as I said at the beginning, completely fine. It just completely stuffed up my schedule as a result. The other things to mention as well, if I've not set up the Nightbot to do this, but I'll just say it now and I'll make sure it's ready for next time. Oh, I won't be around on Friday, but I look forward to the VOD. Koriko sounds very much my vibe. Yes, absolutely, no problem at all. Like I said, normally I try to do it on Thursdays, but unfortunately I've got something happening on Thursday, so I've had to shift the schedule. But normally it is Tuesdays and Thursdays. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it as well. I was delighted that it got nominated and won. I think it was like best production values or something like that at the ENnies. Again, we'll find out on Friday. The last thing I was going to say, I've not got Nightbot set up to do the automatic functions, but I'd love for folks to spread the word, not necessarily about myself or about Too Long Didn't Read, because I don't need everyone looking at these things. But I am the coordinator of something called Podcast Zone, which is like a UK and EU space that we have at Dragon Meet, which is in London in the UK. That happens every year, roughly the first weekend of December, and it is the only RPG convention before Christmas, but also like that really focuses on RPGs. And we have a space called Podcast Zone where TTRPG podcasts from the UK and Europe can come, network, promote their shows, but also do some live shows as well. If that sounds up your boat, or if you know someone who's a podcaster in the UK or EU and wishes to come along, I would love it. Let me see if I can. What would be the best way? So, email. Get them to send me an email at the following email address. It'll be in the chat, because that helps me. Again, if people are interested, it also, I want to grow this community because, let's face it, in the US compared to the UK, it's much bigger. It's had more years to sort of advance the actual play scene, and wanted to make a space in the UK that people can come and get a chance to do a live show and meet people and stuff like. Because that's the thing, is that sometimes when we do these, do these streams, do these podcasts, etc., we will. We feel like we're on our own and nobody listens, but then it's just nice to meet other people and other creators and just discuss passions about stuff we love. So please, if you know somebody or if you are a podcaster in the UK and EU, just send us an email and I will let you know all the info, because we've got sign up starting and we've got the live show pitch as well. I'll make sure that I'll have all the Nightbot doing it on from Friday onwards, but just to let folks know, because I very much appreciate it. Is there anything else I'd say? I don't think so. I think I've said all my announcements. Yeah, I think that's all good. Friends, thank you so much for joining me for the Shadowdark. I will see you on Friday for Koriko. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Finally, if folks are watching, because I saw we've got quite a few people watching today. Thank you so much, friends. I appreciate it. If you want to join our Discord, that's the What Am I Rolling and the DM's Book Club Discord. You'll find out when I'm doing these streams, and also you get to meet a lovely little group of people who just like talking about RPGs and just sharing stuff. So go check that out. The link should be in the chat, but it's also, if you go to our link tree under the doobly-doo, you should find it there as well. All right, friends, I will let you go. Have a wonderful rest of your day, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you on Friday, 11 a.m. Central, 5 p.m. BST for Kuriko Too Long Didn't Read. I'm going to find this stream end button. I'm going to wave and say goodbye for now. Bye!